Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Janebydesign. You're welcome to a new video. So today I'll be showing us how to sew this two-piece set. If you like to see it, please watch the video to the end, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and please ensure to like the video. So right now I have these tools. I have my pattern master, scissors, tape, I have a chalk, and I have the fabric that I'll be using. I assure you would like this. If it's something you will want to make, please watch till the end. Okay, so here is the fabric that I'll be working with, and with me also for the lower parts of this two-piece, I have my pattern already drafted. I have done a video on how to draft this pattern. If you've not seen it, it's going to be in the description box. Please watch the videos on the channel. I have everything you are looking for on this channel. So this pattern is already drafted on the channel. Please check it out. Right, so here on my fabric, I have laid the pattern on the fabric and I have cut it out, but I extended the ankle by 1 inch, so I will have the trouser really long. And at the waistline there, I folded in my 1.5 inch for the band. When I drafted this pattern, it had the band included, so I folded it in because it's not going to be a jumpsuit. It's going to be a trouser on its own, and it's going to have a waistband, so that is why I folded it in, so that the trouser crotch doesn't become too long. So that I will set aside. Now moving on to the top of this piece, I have this fabric already cut out in a manageable size so that we can get started. So I've cut out one piece for the front, folded into two, and another piece for the back, folded into two. So what I have folded is my hip circumference divided by 4 plus 2 inches extra. All right, so right now I'm going to start placing all of my markings on the fabric. So at the top there, you're going to just place a straight line, which is going to be your starting point. You know how we draft a basic bodice pattern? That is what I am recreating right now. So from the top there, which is my shoulder line, I came down by 9.5 or 10, depending on what your bust is, as shoulder to the bust, and from there down to your waistline, and from the waist down to the hip. I've placed my marks all around, and also down to the hem of the dress. So to the hem of this top, you place your tape at the top, and then you get the length of your dress. Now I have all of these markings on my fabric. I will take my ruler now and connect all of the points together as shown. So right after that, I'll take all of my measurements now. Starting from the top at the shoulder line, I'm going to take half of my shoulder plus 0.25 for ease, and I'll place a mark there, and I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, and I will also place a mark right there. On my bust line, I'm going to also place half of my shoulder there and place a mark, and then from my bust line I will go up by 1 inch. That will be for the chest line. So I placed a mark right there, and I'll connect it to touch the 1 inch drop at the shoulder line, and then I'll extend the line outward. This will be the chest line. All right, so now I've created the chest line. Next thing is to create the shoulder slope and also the neck depth. So for the neck width and neck depth, I'll use 3.5 for the neck width, and for the neck depth I'll use 3.25 inch. Then I will connect the two of them with my curve ruler, and after that you are now going to use your ruler to connect the shoulder slope at the top right there to create the shoulder slope for this pattern. Okay, so this is basically how we draft our basic bodice pattern. If you are not a beginner, or if you're a beginner, I have a video on how to draft the basic bodice pattern. Please check it out. It's going to be on the description box. Okay, so right here, after that you've created the shoulder slope, now you go down to your armhole line and then get the midpoint of that armhole, and you place a mark there. Now you also go in by 0.5 inch, sorry, depending on your measurements. And on your chest line, you're going to take quarter of your bust circumference. So I'll place a mark out where my bust circumference is, and from there I'm going to be creating the armhole. So just place your ruler on those 3 points you have on your chest line your armhole line and your shoulder slope, and then you connect the three of them together. This is going to be for the front armhole. All right, so here the armhole for the front has been created. Moving down to the waistline, quarter of your waist divided by plus 1 inch for ease, sorry, quarter of your waist plus 1 inch for ease, and that would be whatever value you have. At the same time, you come down to your hip line, quarter of your hip plus 1 inch for ease, and the same measurement you have on your hip is what you're extending to the hem of the top, quarter of your hip plus 1 inch for ease. Then you connect all of the 3 points together like so, like you can see how I'm doing in the video. And after connecting, I'm going to be adding 1 inch extra for sewing allowance, and that will be it for drawing out the pattern. So for the back, I came down by 1 inch for the neckline of the back, and I've connected that to create the neckline for the back. And also onto the armhole for the back, I also readjusted the armhole of the back. I redrew the armhole so that it can also accommodate the back, and then I added extra half an inch to it for joining allowance at that side. And also I went ahead to add half an inch on the shoulder line. The neckline of the front and back, I didn't add any seam allowance to it. I left it that way. For the hem of the top, I added 1.5 inch to that corner as well, and then I used my ruler to redraw the seaming allowance. That's the seam allowance for that part. And after that, I placed the front and the back fabric on top of each other, pin them down together, so you can see underneath the pattern that I've just drafted, that I've just drawn, I have another fabric under it. That is so that we can be able to cut out the back before cutting out the front. So after laying the two pieces of fabric together on each other, I started by cutting out the neckline of the back and the armhole of the back. And after that, this is it. I'm going to take out the back so that we can readjust the neckline of the front and the armhole of the front. So after we've taken out the underneath one, that's the back panel, I went ahead to cut out the armhole of the back so that we have the armhole of the front for the front, and I also cut out the neckline of the front as well. So that is it, guys. And after cutting out, we have the front and the back. So right here, I've opened up my fabric. This is what the front looks like, and also this is what my back looks like. It's simple and easy, right? Yeah, I know. Just try it and let me know in the comment section. If you've not liked this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and please leave a comment. So right now, I'm going to join them together, right sides facing each other. I'm going to be pinning them both at the shoulder line. So I've taken the front panel and the back panel, place them together, right sides facing each other. I pin them both at the shoulder line, and then I'm going to also pin up the sides as well. So right now, I'm going to mark out the points where I want the slit at the side to start and stop at. So I placed my tape on my shoulder line, and I'm going to mark a point below my waistline. So your slit can start from your waistline down, but I'm going to come down by 3 inches for this, and I'm going to mark a point at where I just marked right now. I'll mark this for either sides of this top, and when you are stitching the underarm, you're going to stitch and stop at that point. Okay, so right now, after stitching, you can see my slit at both sides. Now what I'll do for this slit is to fold it into two so that we can hem it from that point down. I've also sewn the shoulder of this top. So for the slit now, I will fold it in. I'll fold it twice. Okay, I'll fold it twice, just the way you fold the hem of your garment. So I'll fold it twice, and after folding it twice, I'm going to run a stitch from that point down to the hemline of my top. And after that, this is what it looks like. Look at how clean and neat it is looking on both sides of this top. Okay, right now we are going to move on to the lower part, which is the hem of this top. So for the hem, I have also ironed out my seam allowance. That way it's easier for you to either apply a hemming tape on it, a hemming tape on it, or stitch it up. So after I have ironed my seam allowance at that point, I folded it again just so that it will be easier. I used a hemming tape to secure that part. If you don't know what a hemming tape looks like, I described it in my last video. Please go and check it out and watch that. So right now, after folding, I went ahead to use my hemming tape to secure the lower part of my top. You can do a stitch on it if you don't have a hemming tape, and then that is it for that. So moving on to the sleeve, I have these two pieces of fabric right here with me, and I'm going to be placing them together right sides facing each other, and I folded it into two, so I have 4 layers for my sleeve, and I'm going to be drafting out my sleeve on this fabric. Okay, so I've done a video on how to draft a sleeve. If you've not seen that, I'm going to leave the link in the description box. It's the same thing also for the basic sleeve pattern as well. It's all the same thing, so there's no point redrafting it. I'm going to leave that video on the description box. All right, so right here, after I have cut out my sleeve, I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to be placing a notch at the midpoint, so we have a starting point. And also at the point where I have the front side of the sleeve, I'm going to be cutting out that part so we can differentiate between the front part of the sleeve and the back. Now after the sleeve has been gotten, I'll fold it into two, and I'm going to stitch it by 1/2 inch at the side, and also I'm going to be folding the lower part as well. Now after preparing my sleeve, I'm going to take the sleeve and attach it to the top. After attaching, this is what our sleeve looks like, beautifully attached and neatly concealed. All right, so the last thing to do for this top is to finish up the neckline. So right here I have this strip of fabric in the width of 1 inch, and this is what I'm going to be using as a bias. So I called it as a bias. I'm going to use it to conceal the neckline of my top. All right, so I'll just go ahead, take it to the machine now, and stitch it down the way you stitch your bias. And after that, guys, this is what our top looks like. You can see how beautiful the neckline came out, the bias binding, you can see how beautiful it came out. Now onto the bottom. This is my pattern on my fabric. I've previously explained this part. Now I also cut out the waistband for this trouser, and I ironed an interfacing on it as well. So I cut out 2 pieces for the waistband. Now what I'll do is take off the pattern from the fabric. Now this is the front panel of my fabric. What I'll do for the waist is to take out 1/2 inch from the crotch area to connect to the side of the trouser. This is so that our pants will sit nicely on the waistline, and it will just sit nicely and give it a good fitting at that waist area. So that's what I'm doing. I've marked in 1/2 inch on the crotch area, and I've connected it to the side of the trouser, and then I will be cutting out that 1/2 inch. Note that the top already have a seam allowance to it. Okay, so right now, guys, after I have cut out that 1/2 inch at that point, I will open up the back. Okay, this is the back here, this is the front of my back. I open it up. Now we are going to be joining them together. So for the back and the front, you join them right sides facing each other, and you're going to be pinning it at the crotch area. So I've pinned down the crotch area of the front and the back, and then I'm going to go stitch that crotch area by 1/2 inch. And after that, this is what we have for the both sides, the front and the back. Now we are going to be joining them together. So we are going to place them on each other right sides facing each other, and we are going to be pinning them all the way down. So what you will do is the part where you want to be fixing your zip, I'm going to be fixing a zip by this side. So the side where I will be fixing my zip, I'm going to measure from the waist down to the point where I want the zipper to stop. Okay, so I've placed my tape right here. I placed my tape on the waistline, and I marked the point where I want my zipper to stop at the side of my trouser, and I'm going to just stop right there. So from that point we are going to stitch by 1/2 inch all from that point down to the ankle. Okay, so that opening will be for the zipper when we come to attach the zipper. So from that point I'm going to stitch by 1/2 inch all the way down to the ankle, leaving that point open. All right, so guys, here we have it after stitching up the sides of the trouser, the both sides. We've joined the front and the back. Here is what we have, and that's the side where I left for the zipper is still open. Okay, so also for the inner leg of my trouser, that's for the inside of the crotch, I've pinned them together. I've made sure that they match each other, and also I've taken it to the machine and I've stitched them down by 1/2 inch as well. So I've stitched the inseam and the outseam, that's the inner leg and the outer leg of our trouser. And right now we are going to be working on the waistband. So this is what it looks like after stitching them. I've turned it inside to the right side. So this is what our trouser looks like. All right, that is the front and this is the back. So now what we'll do now is to work on the waistline, on the band. Now I've already cut out my band. I've also ironed an interfacing on the band. So what I will do is to go join the band together, just join them together and iron them down so that they come out beautiful. So after working on the band, this is what I have. I've also ironed it in 1/2 inch inward on both sides so that it will be easier for us to attach when I come to attach it on the waist of this trouser. So right here I've pinned down my band on the waistline of my trouser, and now I'm going to run a 1/2 inch sewing allowance on the waistline, all from one edge of the zipper opening to the other side of the zipper opening. And after that, this is what we have. So before we can now top stitch on the band, we are going to be attaching the zipper at the side. So this is the zipper that I have. I was going to get an invisible zipper, but I noticed that I didn't have any, and where they sell it is kind of far, so I'm just going to make do with what I have right now. So now to fix the zipper, I'm going to take the edge of my zipper and place it at the middle of my band. Okay, the section where we have the band joined together, I'm going to take the metallic end of the zipper and place it right there, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it all around the opening we have for the zipper. So right now, after pinning, this is what I have. I'm going to take it to the machine to run a stitch on it. Now we are done stitching. This is what it looks like. Everything is properly aligned together. Okay, so now we are going to be covering the other side of the zipper, and you can see that the band is still open. So what you need to do is to open up your zipper, and then you're going to be cutting out the excess you have at the top. But in this case, I would advise that you don't cut it out, just fold it in so that you have a perfect and a nice finishing. Me cutting it off is sort of a mistake. I kind of forgot, but please, when you are making yours, ensure that you do not cut out your zipper. So after I have cut out my excess at the top right there for the zip, I went ahead to fold the other side of the band towards the direction of the zipper. You can just watch the way I'm doing it in this video. I've just folded it in just so that when you sew that part down, it kind of conceals the zipper at the inside. So I've just turned that in and ensure that your seam allowance at the top and at the bottom aligns properly. Now I have gone to hold the sides with pin, and after that I'm going to be stitching on that end. So now I've stitched that part closed, and you can see I'm going to turn the band inside out to reveal the right side so that you see what it looks like on the right side after doing that stitch. So here it is. This is what it looks like, clean and beautiful. You can see the edge of that zipper looking really nice. Okay, I'm going to close it also so you see what it looks like. Very, very clean and nice. Now the next thing that is remaining is for us to do a top stitch for the remaining part of the band. So for the band, I'm going to ensure that I tuck in all of my seam allowances underneath so that when I take this to the machine to stitch, I'm going to stitch it all the way around the waistband. And the way we are going to be stitching this, we are going to be stitching it from the right side. Ensure that you stitch exactly on that line so that you have a very clean finish at the front and also at the inside of your band. Okay, so now I have done that, and this is what our band looks like on the outside and also on the inside. You can see how clean and beautiful it is looking. Now next is to do the lower part of the trouser. I've used my hemming tape now to tape the lower part, same way I did for the top. And this is it, guys. This is what it looks like front and back. I hope you like. If you do, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section. I'll see you guys in my next one. Stay blessed. Bye.